The evening air in Albuquerque was cold, the kind of cold that reminds you how fast light fades in the desert. I walked into La Terza, the restaurant where I'd celebrated anniversaries, graduations, even my grandson's 10th birthday. Tonight was supposed to be my celebration. 65 years of life. But the moment I sat down, I knew. This wasn't a party. It was a setup. My daughter-in-law, Kiera, smiled too wide. My son, Julian, wouldn't look me in the eye. And then she said it. Isolda, this will be your last meal of freedom. Before the nursing home. I didn't flinch. I didn't cry. I just sipped my wine and said, this is your last meal, while you still have a house to live in. Then I walked out and began the quiet war they never saw coming. If you've ever been treated like a burden by the people you raised, if you've ever been told you're too old to make your own choices, then this story is for you. Like this video. Subscribe. And in the comments tell me, where are you watching from? Because what happened next wasn't revenge. It was reclamation. My name is Isolda Marlo. I'm 65. A retired teacher. A widow. And this is the story of how I took back my home, my dignity, and my future. From the son who forgot what love really means. That night at La Terza, the laughter around the table was uneasy. Like people weren't sure if Kiera was joking. But I knew. She wasn't. Julian stared at his napkin. Silent. Complicit. I reached for my wine. Robert's silver watch cool against my wrist. He died 15 years ago. But I still wear it. Like he's still holding my hand. I sipped slowly. Placed the glass down with deliberate calm. Then I said, this is your last meal. While you still have a house to live in. I stood. Left their stunned silence behind. And walked into the cooling night. Already certain of my next call. Underscore 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 underscore. When I got home, I loosened the clasp of Robert's watch. Felt its weight. Not just metal. Memory. Julian was 25 when Robert died. Floundering. No job. No direction. I graded papers until dawn. Then rushed home to pack his lunch, like he was still in high school. I paid his bills. One by one. Even when it meant skipping meals. Postponing car repairs. Then came 2008. The housing crash. One night, Julian called in tears. The bank's taking my house. I drove across town with a check I had no business writing. Drained nearly every savings bond Robert and I had built. I told him it was temporary. That you'd pay me back when things got better. He never did. And I never asked. Because I believed that's what mothers do. We shield. We provide. We erase the ledger, so it doesn't turn into shame. I thought if I gave enough, he'd learn gratitude. Responsibility, maybe even tenderness. But over the years, as Kiera entered his life, designer bags, constant renovations, I noticed something. He stopped calling to hear my voice. He only called when he needed something signed, loaned, or solved. That night, I pulled open the bottom drawer of my desk, brushed past bills and insurance papers, until I found it. The thick envelope, hidden like a guilty secret. Inside, the deed. Proof that the house Julian and Kiera lived in was mine. I remembered the day I signed it. Their mortgage collapsed. They were drowning. I paid it off without hesitation. But I made one condition. The deed had to be transferred to my name. To protect it from creditors. I thought it would be temporary. Just a shield. But as the years passed, and gratitude never came, I left the papers tucked away. Until now. I picked up the phone. Dialed Eduardo Serrano. Robert's friend. My attorney. Steady. Discreet. He answered on the second ring. I'm sorry to call so late, I said. But it can't wait. I need to review a deed. Underscore 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 underscore. By the end of the week, the calls started. My cousin in Phoenix. Isolda, I heard you've been forgetting things. Maybe it's time you considered some help. A niece in El Paso. Tia, we're worried. Julian says you can't keep up anymore. Each call, less concern, more planted seeds. Kiera's work. Her voice had traveled faster than the desert wind. Then the knock. Friday afternoon. A woman in a white coat. Isolda Marlo. I'm Dr. Vega. Your family asked me to evaluate you. I held the door firm. Without my consent. Sometimes families worry. Then they can pursue it legally. You will not enter my home without a court order. She faltered, left with a pitying smile. And, across the street, Julian's car idling. He stepped out. Mom, Kiera just wants what's best. Maybe it wouldn't hurt to be checked. I felt heat in my chest. Julian, I manage my finances. I read every morning. I drive safely. I run this house. What exactly am I supposed to be forgetting? He swallowed. But his silence told me everything. That night, I called my doctor. Scheduled a full evaluation. Blood work. Cognitive tests. Every record I might need. If Kiera wanted to build a narrative, I would confront it with facts. Underscore 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 underscore. Monday morning, I pulled out Robert's wooden jewelry box. Inside, empty. Mother's pearl necklace.
Gone.
Aunt Celia's emerald earrings.
Gone.
The gold bracelet Robert gave me after Julian's birth.
Gone.
I called Eduardo. Within 2 days, Mendoza, the private investigator, had answers. A pawn shop near Old Town. Items matching my list. Sold 2 months ago. He slid across security stills. There they were.
Julian. Kiera. Smiling.
Julian signing the papers. The pearls dangling in the shopkeeper's hand. I felt something inside me break. Not from grief. From clarity. This wasn't Kiera acting alone. Julian had been there, handing over heirlooms meant for future generations. Trinkets that carried love.
Continuity.
Eduardo studied me. We can present this as evidence. It strengthens everything. I traced Julian's blurred face. Once, he leaned that same head against my shoulder during storms. Now he turned it away. I closed the folder. Prepare whatever comes next. Underscore 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 underscore. Dawn the next morning. Fists on my door. Kiera stood there, hair wild, eyes blazing. You think you can humiliate us? You think a piece of paper makes you queen of everything? I kept my hand steady.
Leave.
This isn't your property. Not my property. She laughed, harsh, hollow. Julian and I built that house. You're just a bitter old woman trying to steal it. I shut the door, locked it, dialed the police. By the time Officer Rodriguez arrived, Eduardo was on his way, briefcase in hand. Kiera shouted in the driveway. Rodriguez listened, then turned to her. Ma'am, you have no legal standing here. You need to leave this property immediately. Her face drained. Julian stood at the edge of the yard. Shoulders slumped. Wouldn't meet my eyes. Julian, I said softly. He didn't move. Kiera hissed. You'll regret this. Pulled him to the car. He didn't resist. When the patrol car followed them, Eduardo turned to me. It's time. File the charges. I nodded. Eviction. And theft. By sunrise, I had signed the papers. Underscore 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 underscore. 2 days later, Detective Silva called. Julian had been taken into custody at his bank. The next afternoon, I stood in the visiting room of the county jail. Julian in a beige uniform, thinner, eyes shadowed. "Mom," he began, voice rough. "I didn't want it to come to this. Kiera, she has a problem. Gambling. Online casinos. Sports betting. She promised every time it was the last. I thought if I covered the losses, she'd stop. That's why I took the jewelry. The money. I thought I could pay it back before you ever knew." I leaned forward. "Julian, you weren't protecting anyone. You were enabling her. Destroying me in the process. You stole what cannot be replaced."
Tears gathered.
"I'm sorry, Mom. Please don't press this further." I shook my head. "I can love you and still hold you accountable. Love does not erase consequences." When the guard came, I placed my hand on the glass. "Find the man you lost, Julian. But I won't save you this time." Underscore 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 underscore. Months passed. The house grew quiet. I filled it with new rhythms. Morning walks, painting at the community center, a book club with women who carried stories like mine. I hired Maria, a woman with calm eyes and quick wit. Officially, a part-time caregiver. In truth, a friend. Eduardo helped me rewrite my will. The properties, the investments, they wouldn't fuel greed. They'd go to a foundation, helping older women cornered by family. For Julian, a modest sum, just enough to start over if he chose to rebuild. When I signed the final page, Eduardo said, "You've secured not just your assets, Isolda, but your dignity." Underscore 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 underscore. Then a letter from the county jail. 5 pages in Julian's careful script. An admission without excuses. He confessed. To the jewelry. To the money. To letting Kiera turn the family against me. He wrote, "Mom, I don't ask for forgiveness. I only ask that you remember. I was once the boy who loved you." I folded the letter. Placed it beside Robert's watch. I wouldn't answer. Not yet. But I couldn't throw it away. Underscore 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 underscore. 6 months later, a young man appeared at my gate. No older than 20. Dark hair, and Robert's eyes. "Mrs. Marlo," he said. "I'm David, Julian's son from before Kiera. I only found him a few months ago. I wanted to meet my grandmother." The word landed heavier than any deed. I gestured him inside. We sat at the kitchen table, where so much had unraveled. He asked for nothing. No money. No promises.
Just the chance to know where he came from.
And for the first time in years, family felt like something chosen, not demanded. As he left, I stood by the gate. The house behind me, still mine. The battles, behind me. But here was something new. An inheritance I hadn't expected. the chance to plant new roots in soil that had once been broken. And for the first time, I believed they might grow. This wasn't about punishment. It was about peace. You don't have to scream to be strong. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is hold your line. Your home, your name, your legacy. They're not up for negotiation. If this story moved you,
Like, subscribe.
and in the comments, tell me, have you ever had to choose yourself over family? Because your voice might give someone else the courage to stand firm. Until next time, remember, you are not disposable.